It would have never happened. I cannot, it's just so unbelievable. But looking back on my life, I can see it now. Okay? So some of the things I'm going to talk to you about, some of the things I'm going to share with you, you may believe, you may not. I don't really care. I'm not here to convince anyone. What I am here to do is to give witness to truth. Okay? Heaven is real. And hell exists. And the only thing going on in this life is God's plan for salvation. That's it. And before the Christ, this world had no hope. He turned everything on its head, and he started it the other direction. So if you want to know where we're going right back to where Adam and Eve was, with more promises and more Adams and Eves. It's right there in the book of Revelation. Everybody's like, well, what's coming? Well, they're so interested in chastisement and this and that. They've had people call me a prophet of doom, of all things. You listen, in the book of Revelation, do you remember John sees the city come down, the heavenly Jerusalem come down from heaven? That's what's coming.
Today's reading.
That's what's coming. That's what Our Lady of Fatima, Our Lady of Garabandal, Our Lady of Akita, Our Lady of Medjugorje, it's what she's preparing us for. It is the writings of the divine will. That's what's coming. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're going to have to go through some bad stuff? Yeah. But you know what? The way Jesus allows Satan to destroy himself, sin will destroy itself. There are those who hear and those who don't. And it's such a, imagine, just think about where you're at. Because a lot of it, we don't have anything to fear. Chastisements and judgments are for the godless. That's why he said, as it was in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Lot. They were protected. Even if we went through martyrdom, you will be protected. St. Stephen, perfect example, stoned outside the city for preaching the gospel. Paul was a witness to it. And as they're stoning him to death, what did he say? Behold, I see the Son of God sitting at the right hand. He was having a vision. He was in ecstasy. He never felt the stoning. He was so enraptured with the love of God. Behold, he was giving witness as he was dying, but he never felt the stoning. The only one that felt persecution was him. Peter didn't feel his crucifixion. Paul didn't feel his beheading. There's martyrs that go all the way back to the ancient city of Rome that were tied to pillars, and they used them as light. They lit them on fire and used them as light to throw this banquet of how they were destroying the church, only to have more than half of the people sitting at the table converted at the end of it, because when the fires went out, the corpses were smiling. They never felt it. So we have nothing to fear. In the book of Revelation, it talks about this. John sees the city of God coming down out of heaven, and there's a flow of water. This is the love of God, the Spirit of God. And on each side of that river, there are trees that produce leaves as medicine for the nations every year or every month, right? If that was heaven, why would you need medicine?
Right.
Those trees represent churches. And the roots are literally growing into the stream, the love of God, the Holy Spirit. Okay, this is Our Lady's, our period of peace. This is what she's talking about at Fatima. Okay? I don't like when they say era of peace, because that's not what she said. She said period of peace. But that's where this is going. And so, will the world change? Yes. Are there chastisements coming? Yes. But what we should possess as believers is a holy fear of God. And what do I mean by that? When I stood before Jesus and I was shown my life and I was shown my sin, in the way it's written in that book is a little off, because authors do that. They try to make things like real romantic-y type of stuff. Okay? I was never condemned. It wasn't a condemnation. What it was that I knew I deserved hell because of the sin. What I was afraid of was the sin. You know, and there were a number of other things that were shown to me in that revelation that kind of, added to the fear. But a holy fear of God is a fear of standing before him and seeing that you've disappointed him in some way. That we somehow didn't live up to the call. A holy fear of God is that you don't want to offend him because we know enough now that it hurts him. Okay, I want to, this is how I know this was some of the things I was supposed to do. This is what came to me this morning on my, I get a reading from the Diary of Faustina every day. One of the things that draws us into a deeper love of God is to unite our sufferings with his. Okay? And for so many years, 8 years of my life, what happened was I allowed that pain to turn into anger, and then the anger turned into hate. I hated anybody that reminded me of my father. It reminded me of the babysitters that did what they did to me. Reminded me of, in other words, I was mad at the world, and I was going to take back everything that the world took from me. Because as a little kid, I mean, I might as well have been Peter Pan. That was, I mean, I was so free.